Now we're going to take a look at surface spraying. So if we had a new operation and we go for surface spraying, the surface in question that I'm looking at covering are these two surfaces here. So if we go into job assignments, we define those as our machining surfaces, and I'm going to set this as the second curve. The first curve is a little bit more complicated because it uses this split front curve as well. And we're going to take a look through our settings now. We're not going to, actually no, we are going to spiral between two curves. We'll leave that as it is. It's worth taking note of the cladding side because sometimes that doesn't always make perfect sense. It depends entirely on the topography of your 3D model. If your faces are inverted or a face is inverted or it's not properly joined, sometimes it's going to want to be clad from the inside instead of the outside, even though functionally speaking, it's the outside. 3D surfacing is kind of weird, okay, and that's not the fault of ENCY, that is due to a whole range of things coming together all at once. Beyond that, we're going to turn on adaptive step because we don't want the fixed step over here. I am going to set this to 250% again and press return, and I am going to set the tool orientation to normal to surface. So from here, we should hopefully, once we go back into setup and enable flip wrist and E1, we should hopefully be able to get a fairly clean toolpath. So let's generate it now and see what happens. So as I say, we have in this case the inversion where it reckons that the outside of the object is actually outside the object. So that's a good thing. So if we just set cladding side to outside instead of inside, we get an even less coherent thing. So this is interesting. Let's go back to inside and we are going to generate the toolpath again. And at this point, I think we're going to have to take a look at the axis map and see what's going on. So turn on collisions, build the map. Wow, that looks happy to start with. And we're just going to work through this as we go. And we're not really seeing a lot of improvement here so far. So I might have spoken too soon as to, oh no, here we go. We update and build the graph. That is coming from a 90-degree lean angle, which is a little strange. So let's continue building the graph, see what we can come up with here. Now, as I say, sometimes this is due to the sheer weirdness of surface normal orientation in 3D space. And I have to say, it does look an awful lot like it's still trying to work from the inside of the model here, as evidenced by the faded blue of the toolpath. So I'm going to go back into strategy and I'm going to set this to outside. And I think what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to go back into setup, generate, and go through the axis map process again. Doesn't take very long, but you know, it's a bit fussy nonetheless. That looks a lot more normal. So let's quickly get past that, update the toolpath, and work from here on out. Now, as we can see, it's far from ideal so far. This again is quite normal. It certainly seems to happen to me quite a lot anyway, but it's nothing to worry about. The closer we bring the actual robot into the part by adjusting the axis map, the better the final result is going to be. So I'm not super worried about this at the moment. And as I've said in many of my other videos, the axis mapping tool is an iterative tool. It's one that we work through multiple times to get the best possible result. And already things are starting to look better. They're just going to take a little bit more polish and finesse, that's all. So we go back to the original now. We can see we've got a nice clear path there. And yep, that's looking a lot healthier. And as I say, we're just going to keep readjusting everything until we're fairly close to the 0 point if we can be. Okay. And that is going to get us pretty much there. Now, I'm still not a big fan of the weird diversion from facing the part here. So I think we're going to need to take a good look at the tool orientation versus the rotary table vector. So let's quickly pick the tool orientation as front, and we're going to set the rotary table vector. I'm going to go with a custom one here due to the current orientation of the table. I'm going to go with +1 in X, -1 in Y, and 0 in Z. And we're going to generate from there. And with a little bit of luck, once we run through the axis map again, we should be able to start seeing better results. And as you can probably guess, this is why I was talking about these operations as being the more difficult ones in this instance, because they are definitely fussier. They're not intrinsically harder. They just require sort of working your way through and troubleshooting just that little bit more. And yeah, it's, you know, it's nothing too onerous. But as we can see now, we've already got a better orientation around the part itself. And that's what we're aiming at, really. So we now have a much more sensible looking toolpath. Although it still does veer off to the edge there, which is not really what we want. Let's try and scrub this up a tiny bit more, just to see what we can fix. Okay, so let's simulate this. And we'll quickly run it now. And generally, I've got to say, that's looking pretty good so far. We'll wait for it to finish before I start to celebrate too much. But overall, I'd say that's pretty much spot on for the orientation we want relative to the part and the kind of coverage that we're looking for. So most of that weird angle at the end there was just the return vector, not the actual machining vector. So that's good to know. Excellent. In which case, I shall see you in the next one.